What if I told you NHL players once used equipment so controversial it had to be banned, and these items didn't just bend the rules, they broke the game? The NHL is no stranger to rule changes, but when it comes to equipment, some innovations were so outrageous that the league had no choice but to step in. Over the years, players have pushed boundaries, welding gear that gave them unfair advantages, or in some cases, put others at serious risk. These items not only shook the hockey world, but also became the reason behind some of the strictest equipment regulations in NHL history. Let's uncover the stories of the banned equipment and the players who made headlines for using them. In the 1970s, legendary Montreal Canadiens goalie Ken Dryden was untouchable in the net, but not just because of his skill. Dryden used extra-large goalie pads that some argued were pushing the limits of fairness. At the time, there weren't strict regulations on the size of goalie equipment, and Dryden took full advantage. His oversized pads made it nearly impossible for opponents to score, giving him an edge that led to 6 Stanley Cup wins. But opponents started noticing something strange. Dryden's pads seemed much larger than anyone else's. They weren't just protecting him, they were blocking massive portions of the net. This sparked outrage among teams who felt like they were playing against a wall, not a goalie. The NHL eventually stepped in, introducing new rules that set strict size limits for goalie equipment. Dryden's pads became a prime example of how equipment could create an unfair playing field, and his legacy as one of the greatest goalies is forever linked to this controversy. While his skill was undeniable, his oversized pads changed how the NHL regulated gear, ensuring no goalie could ever rely on size alone to dominate the game. Well, if there's one piece of equipment that truly changed the NHL, it's the curved hockey stick blade, and no one used it better than Bobby Hull. In the 1960s, Hull, known as the Golden Jet, was already a force to be reckoned with, thanks to his blistering slap shot. But when he started experimenting with extreme curves on his stick blade, he unleashed a whole new kind of chaos on the ice. Hull's curved blade allowed him to shoot the puck with unmatched speed and unpredictability. Goalies didn't just struggle to stop his shots, they couldn't even see them coming. The puck would often wobble or swerve midair, leaving players and fans alike stunned. But while Hull's innovation was thrilling for spectators, it became a nightmare for goalies. They started complaining that his shots were downright dangerous, with some even likening it to dodging a flying razor blade. Soon, other players followed suit, crafting their own heavily curved blades to mimic Hull's technique. The league was thrown into turmoil as games turned into exhibitions of wild, erratic shots rather than controlled play. Fearing for the safety of goalies and the integrity of the game, the NHL stepped in and introduced the banana blade rule. This new regulation limited the curve of a stick blade to just half an inch, a drastic measure to curb the chaos Hull's innovation had created. While the rule was necessary, it didn't stop Hull from cementing his place in hockey history. His creativity and daring approach to equipment set a precedent for pushing boundaries, and even today, his name is synonymous with one of the most significant rule changes in the NHL. Before the 1950s, hockey was a game of raw grit, where goalies stood in the line of fire without any facial protection. That all changed when Jacques Plante, the Montreal Canadiens' revolutionary goalie, decided to wear a mask during games. While Plante's mask is now celebrated as a groundbreaking piece of equipment, its early versions faced serious backlash and even earned a temporary ban. In 1959, Plante was struck in the face by a puck, an all-too-common occurrence for goalies at the time. Tired of enduring constant injuries, Plante crafted a fiberglass mask to protect his face. When he debuted it during a game, fans and even his teammates were stunned. Many saw it as a sign of weakness, arguing that hockey was a sport built on toughness and fearlessness. Critics claimed the mask would block the goalie's vision and hurt the game's excitement. But Plante didn't just wear the mask, he thrived in it, leading the Canadiens to a winning streak that silenced many doubters. However, not everyone was convinced. The NHL, worried about the mask altering the game's intensity, initially discouraged its use. It wasn't until years later, when more goalies adopted masks and player safety took center stage, that the mask became a mandatory part of the sport. Plante's innovation didn't just protect his face, it changed hockey forever. His perseverance in the face of criticism showed that evolving the game didn't mean abandoning its spirit. Today, goalie masks are not only vital for safety, but also a canvas for personal expression, thanks to the player who dared to prioritize protection over tradition. When you think of Wayne Gretzky, the first thing that comes to mind is his unparalleled skill and hockey IQ. But even the Great One wasn't immune to experimenting with equipment, especially when it came to the aluminum hockey stick. In the late 1980s, Gretzky made headlines not just for his incredible plays, but for wielding a stick that seemed more fitting for a factory than a hockey rink. Traditional hockey sticks were made of wood, offering players a natural feel and flexibility, but aluminum sticks promised something entirely different: durability and a lighter weight. Gretzky, always looking for ways to enhance his game, decided to give the aluminum stick a shot. At first, it seemed like a game changer. The stick's lightweight design allowed for quicker movements and sharper shots, perfectly suited to Gretzky's style of play. However, the stick wasn't without its problems. Players quickly discovered that while aluminum was durable, it lacked the same feel as wood. Gretzky himself admitted that the stick made it harder to control the puck with the finesse he was known for. Additionally, its rigidity led to concerns about player safety. When checks or slashes were delivered with an aluminum stick, the impact was far harsher than with wooden ones. The NHL took notice, and soon debates erupted over whether such sticks should be allowed in the game. By the early 1990s, the aluminum stick craze had fizzled out, replaced by composite sticks that offered a better balance of performance and safety. While Gretzky eventually returned to more traditional equipment, his brief flirtation with aluminum sticks marked an important chapter in hockey's evolution. This experiment was a testament to Gretzky's willingness to innovate, even if the results weren't perfect. It's another reminder of how even the greatest players continually pushed boundaries to elevate the game. In the early 1980s, the Philadelphia Flyers became the face of one of the NHL's most bizarre and short-lived experiments: Cooperalls. Unlike traditional hockey pants, Cooperalls were full-length hockey pants made of a slick nylon material designed to improve player performance and comfort. They were sleek, futuristic, and, at least on paper, seemed like the next big thing in hockey gear. The idea behind Cooperalls was simple: the streamlined design would reduce drag, making players faster on the ice. The pants also included extra padding for enhanced protection. When the Flyers debuted them during the 1981-82 season, fans were intrigued. However, it didn't take long for problems to arise. The first issue was the slick nylon material. While it might have made players faster, it also made them more prone to dangerous falls. When a player wearing Cooperalls hit the ice, the material's low friction caused them to slide uncontrollably, often crashing hard into the boards. This safety hazard quickly drew criticism from players, coaches, and officials alike. The second issue was aesthetics. Fans and commentators couldn't help but poke fun at the pants, comparing them to everything from ski suits to pajamas. For a sport rooted in tradition, Cooperalls felt out of place and even comical. By the end of the 1982-83 season, the NHL decided enough was enough. The league banned Cooperalls, citing safety concerns as the primary reason. Teams returned to traditional hockey pants, and the experiment became a cautionary tale in the history of equipment innovation. Though short-lived, Cooperalls remain a fascinating chapter in NHL history. They're a reminder that not every innovation is a winner, and that in hockey, practicality often trumps style. In the mid-1990s, the NHL tried something bold to appeal to a wider audience: the infamous glow puck. While not player equipment in the traditional sense, this high-tech puck was designed to enhance the viewing experience for fans, especially those new to hockey. But what began as an ambitious innovation quickly became one of the league's most controversial experiments. The idea originated from a simple challenge. Hockey games were hard to follow on TV, especially for casual fans unfamiliar with tracking the fast-moving puck. Enter the glow puck, a regular puck embedded with electronics that produced a glowing trail on television screens. The concept debuted during the 1996 NHL All-Star Game, with Fox Sports using advanced graphics to make the puck's glow visible to viewers. Initially, the NHL hoped this tech would revolutionize hockey broadcasting. Casual fans found it easier to follow the action, and the glowing trail even changed colors to indicate the puck's speed or a hard shot. But for die-hard hockey fans, the glow puck was nothing short of sacrilege. Many complained it was distracting, unnecessary, and gimmicky, arguing that it dumbed down the sport. The puck also had practical issues. The embedded electronics made it heavier than a standard puck, affecting gameplay. Players found it harder to handle, and goalies complained that it behaved unpredictably on the ice. These performance problems, coupled with fan backlash, led to the glow puck being shelved after just 2 seasons. Despite its failure, the glow puck is a fascinating case study in how technology can intersect with sports. It wasn't the game changer the NHL hoped for, but it paved the way for modern innovations like puck tracking systems that are now seamlessly integrated into broadcasts. In the 1970s, Bobby Orr wasn't just dominating hockey, he was redefining it. As the best defenseman of his time, Orr's explosive speed and unmatched agility left opponents stunned. But there was a secret behind his success that few knew: his custom-designed skates. These skates, though not illegal at first, gave him such an edge that the NHL eventually had to step in and regulate their design. Orr worked closely with manufacturers to create skates that were lighter, more flexible, and provided unparalleled ankle support, features unheard of at the time. While most players relied on heavy, rigid skates that limited mobility, Orr's custom pair allowed him to glide across the ice like no one else. This advantage, paired with his natural talent, made him nearly unstoppable. As Orr's dominance grew, so did the scrutiny. Rival players and teams began questioning whether his skates were giving him an unfair advantage. The NHL investigated and found that while his skates weren't breaking any rules, they pushed the boundaries of what was considered fair. In response, the league introduced stricter regulations on skate design, ensuring no player could benefit from equipment that dramatically altered gameplay. Though Orr's skates were never officially banned, the new rules effectively ended the era of fully custom gear that could tip the scales. Despite the controversy, Orr's legacy remained intact. He wasn't just a player who broke records, he was a trailblazer who forced the NHL to rethink how equipment could impact the game. From Ken Dryden's oversized pads to Bobby Orr's revolutionary skates, these banned innovations remind us how far players will go to gain an edge, and how the NHL evolves to keep the game fair and competitive. What do you think about these rule-changing pieces of equipment? Do you have a favorite story from hockey's controversial past? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this dive into hockey history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating NHL content. See you in the next one.